Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mrhappy Mondays, or Mondays with Mrhappy. It seems like even I'm abbreviating it now at this point. This is a weekly show I do. I usually do maybe an announcement or two, and then I answer a bunch of Q&A from the viewers on my videos, specifically the questions that I get under the Mondays with Mrhappy videos from the past. Now, before I go on, I do want to do a quick little announcement. Destiny came out on Tuesday. I've been doing a lot of videos on that. I've been trying to pump them out, and I still have a lot more in my pipeline that need to get out. And some people have expressed concern to me about, oh, well, what about Final Fantasy XIV? And the truth is, I don't have many Final Fantasy XIV videos to put out. It's very similar to when towards the end of the 3-month wait between patches, there's only so many things that you can really do a video about. Yeah, I could remake some of the old ones, but I want to be able to push out new things that people want to watch. Like, oh, I haven't seen this before. Let me click on it. So there isn't really much for me to do until tomorrow with patch 2.38. And I, so far, have loved Destiny. I'm going to be putting out a review on it very, very soon. It has its problems, don't get me wrong. It's not a perfect game. Trust me, just wait for the review and you'll see. But, you know, I gotta be able to post more than just Final Fantasy XIV stuff, or Final Fantasy stuff in general on my channel, you know? Otherwise, I'm gonna end up neglecting all these games that are coming out that I want to play. And that's something that, as a gamer, I don't feel like is very authentic. I don't want to just be a one-trick pony, you know? So, with that out of the way, thank you guys for supporting the channel. Again, we hit the 10 million views last week, and hopefully we can hit another 10 million in the next year. But anyway, guys, let's go through the Q&A. I'm going to look towards last week's video first, and then I'm going to look at the older videos and see if there's any questions I missed that I want to answer. So, let's get started. Now, this is a question that I've gotten not only multiple times, but even on stream, I've expressed interest in this idea, and especially under the top 5 job videos that I did. I would love to know what you think about possibly having Dancer as a healer, instead of using MP, using TP to help cure buff. And you know what? That's the only thing I can imagine Dancers doing. You know, without a hybrid role or a support role, there's really no place for them in this game. They would basically just be a glorified thief, or a glorified ninja even, or a glorified rogue. One of them just a dagger user, because I can't imagine them. Even fist user, who the hell knows? But, you know, the only thing I ran into, I'm trying to imagine the dances being just thrown out in such quick succession. Those two, I remember the Final Fantasy XI dances had long cooldowns, and they're pretty long animations. So I'm just curious about how it would even look if they worked. But that's the only role I could imagine them doing, and it would be an interesting role. It'd be a lot different from the other healers in the game. You would have to have a bunch of, TP regeneration abilities, and it would definitely mix things up. It would be a lot different. So I'm up for it. Oh, God. Alright, I'll answer this one. Mrhappy, I am also formerly from the New York tri-state area. You've mentioned New Jersey. What are your feelings about the Jersey Shore television show? You know, Snooki. Snooki wants smush smush. Sorry, I don't like South Park very much, but that is a hilarious episode of South Park. I hate that show with a passion. I don't find it funny. I don't find it interesting. And as an Italian from Jersey, it's the worst. They're not even from Jersey. They just go to the Jersey Shore. I think most of them are from Staten Island, or they're not from New Jersey, I don't think. I'm pretty sure most of them aren't from New Jersey. I'm pretty sure it's all like Long Island, Staten Island, New York, Pennsylvania, Boston, something other than New Jersey. They just go to Jersey. Ugh. This one's kind of not fair. If you had one wish, what would it be? Like Ray J, like that song? If I had one wish. No, I'm sorry. I've just ruined so many lives right there. Anyway, you cannot wish for more wishes, Mrhappy. You know what? I'd wish to just be able to do this for a living for the rest of my life without any sort of interruptions or problems or worries. And that way, I'd be able to enjoy other aspects of my life, because, you know, this takes a big part of my life, you know? I have to put a lot of time into it, and if I don't get results. So I would just wish to be able to safely do what I do for a living for the rest of my life and enjoy other aspects of my life. That would just result in me being able to enjoy other aspects of my life a little bit more. This is actually a great question, because a lot of people have been asking me about this on stream as well. Mrhappy, when do you think we'll start getting into the meat and potatoes of the things that are new to the franchise, rather than just fan service, specifically talking about Final Fantasy XIV? I really love the setting of Final Fantasy XIV, and I am more than eager to see it evolve into its own world, but there are times when I feel like we are drowning in old ideas and fan service. I would really like something new primals, hell, new names. And you know what? Is a little bit of, you know, conflicting I don't know what the words I want to use, but here's how it works. Final Fantasy fans love to live in the past. You know, I can say my favorite's 6. I still love all the classic Final Fantasies, and I would play those again any day rather than play some of the newer ones unless they were to do an HD 12. But I would so much rather play the old Final Fantasies than play the more recent ones. And I don't know, it's just like that is a thing when you play. It's almost like a pattern. Like when you play a Final Fantasy game, you want to see all the things that you recognize in a Final Fantasy game. Until you've found certain things, you're just looking for them the whole time, and then if they're not there, you're just like, well, what the hell? But of course, the world, the story, it needs to have its own, you know, life. It can't just borrow from other things. And Yoshi P has said that the next expansion will be, for the most part, just its own. You know, it's gonna have, you know, it's not gonna be Bahamut, or at least we're led to believe that. It's not going to be, there's not going to be another, like, Crystal Tower. There's not going to be another raid that's based on a previous Final Fantasy game. So I'd imagine the expansion is when we'll get into Eorzea and really seeing Eorzea become its own thing, not just with borrowed elements from other Final Fantasy games. I've had the same concerns as you. I want to see some originality in the expansion. This one is kind of, this question's going to have spoilers. So again, when I do this, it means that the spoilers are done, so you can turn your volume down. Specifically, it's going to be the Binding Coil of Bahamut spoilers, so just turn your volume down right now. I'd like to know if we'll get a Bahamut fight, and to be honest, I don't think so. I think turn 9 is your Bahamut fight. The attacks are all, you know, it's Mega, his ultimate attack is Mega Flare, Bahamut's favor, summons dragons, he looks like Bahamut. That is probably our Bahamut fight, because if we were to fight Bahamut, he's too friggin' big. Like, you literally, it's not like Deathwing where we're gonna jump on his back and disable all stuff. No, if he was he's too strong. We fought, think of it, we fought on his hand. I want you to think about that. Turn 5 happens on his hand. How are you gonna fight that? One punch and you're done. All he has to do is swing one of his short little dragon arms and you're done. That's it. That's all it's gonna take. Did you see what he did to the world? Like, it's just, even if we were to fight, it wouldn't be through traditional means. Maybe a weakened Bahamut in the third coil of Bahamut. Most likely we're just gonna fight another guy. I'm actually gonna leave that spoiler out of there. So, you know, half spoilers on this one. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, let's move on to the next question. Another Final Fantasy XI question. I can never escape these. Mainly, I miss the vastness and danger of exploring the open world in 11. I know expansion is coming but 11 seems so much larger, and I don't see new zones being dangerous. Do you think we'll see something similar in 14? I'll never forget that first run to Juno. That sentence I want to highlight. I'll never forget that first run to Juno. For those of you who watch this who haven't played Final Fantasy XI, the world was really friggin' dangerous. You could die anywhere, at any level, pretty much. There were some zones that it would be pretty hard for you to find an enemy strong enough to kill you, but for the most part, every zone sort of had at least like an area that was dangerous to you, where you might have to tread carefully, and it was all, even max level didn't mean you were safe out in the world. The one thing is, a lot of people tend to take their first experiences with something and translate that to the only experience they ever had with it. I'll never forget that first run to Juno, but after your first run to Juno, you never want to do that run again. You're never excited to do another run to Juno. Man, you're going, man, I am so happy I can get my airship now, so I never have to do that again. So, a lot of people seem to forget that people took huge shortcuts in Final Fantasy XI. Yeah, your first time through everything was great. You know what, in 14, my first time through everything was great also. It just didn't last as long because the world is smaller. Final Fantasy XI's also had, what, 13 years now to progress into a thing. It's kind of like when people go, oh, World of Warcraft, when I'm bored, I could just go solo old content. Yeah, because there is old content there. There's more zones, there's more areas because the game has been out longer. And Final Fantasy XI was pretty much the same thing. When we got it in North America, we got it with an expansion. So we actually didn't get the game until there was already old zones and content that had been developed over in Japan. Now, granted, even with that, the zones were bigger. There's no denying that. It'll take you very long to get across, and it was dangerous the whole time. But people need to stop affiliating their first experience with something as their only experience with it. Because after that, everybody was like, you gotta unlock outpost warps, you gotta get teleports. The whole time, if you had to go someplace that was far away from a teleport, you're like, oh, I just wish there was a teleport closer. Nobody loved running through that world over and over and over again, especially when you hit max level and you were actually going to places over, and people had nicknames for Garlade, Shitadel. Like, there were bad nicknames for every place in that game pretty much, and nobody loved running through it over and over and over, especially because it would take 15 minutes to get anywhere most of the time. People would try to get as close to it as they could and then walk up it. So we will have more zones. There will eventually be more things to explore. As for a dangerous zone, maybe, but it's not going to be meaningless. Like, a lot of Final Fantasy 11 zones were dangerous for no reason, especially now. Now they just literally threw like level 90 enemies into low-level areas just to make them dangerous again. It's like there's no point to that. There's no reason for it. And Final Fantasy 14 won't just make a zone that's just, hey, there are enemies here that'll kill you. That's it. We don't have anything planned for that area. Nothing. They won't do that. So yes and no. They could do it, but they won't do it without a reason. This one's a really long question, so I'm actually just going to take a little snippet. They gave me a personal story aspect about it. They said, here's a question for Mondays with Mrhappy. And they were talking about a website called Final Fantasy 11 Auction House, which FFXIAH. And that was a website where you could go on, you know, your internet browser, and you could check the auction house for Final Fantasy 11 online. Very convenient thing to be able to do when you're at school or you're at work and you're away from the game. So the question was, did I ever use this website, and would you like to see something similar? Now, here's the thing. Oh, and if so, do you think Square Enix will develop something internally? How long do you expect it to wait? I don't know about that. I don't think they would develop something like that internally. You never know in this day and age with smartphones. It's something that would be extremely convenient to be able to check your retainers and the market boards and things like that on your phone. I could actually see them doing that. As for did I ever use the website? Yeah, and you know what? That website had major malicious, like, just viruses and stuff on it. It was so easy to get hacked if you used that website, and it happened to me once. I did get hacked because I used that website. A lot of people saying they got hacked because of that website. I don't know if that's still a problem, but I would like to see something similar to Final Fantasy 14, but something that I'm not going to get hacked for using, you know. I don't want friggin' some sort of RMT website making one of those and be like, oh, it's so useful, come here. And then they just get in and use your information and they take your account. So yes and no. I did use it, but no, I'm not so sure I want to see it unless it's done properly. Hey, Mrhappy, I am currently an item level 109 monk, and I wanted to know what status of Predator is more, crit or skill speed? Crit. Dot skill speed. Don't use any more skill speed. Don't. You have so much of it built into your kit. Don't do it. Okay? Hope that helps. Well, I guess after last week's very popular question, I had to get this one. Do you like almond milk? I love almond milk. So, Mrhappy, when you get your PlayStation 4 on Tuesday, which I got my PlayStation 4 if you haven't seen my unboxing video for that. Grats, by the way. Are you going to buy Final Fantasy 14 or Realm Reborn for it? Not really. No intentions of it. I have it on the PC. The only reason I can think of getting it on the PlayStation 4 is if I need to move it. It's easier to take my PlayStation 4 someplace that has a TV than to move my computer, my monitor, all my like all that. It's a lot easier. But no, I don't really have any plans for anything like that. As for H&Ms, also, do you think Final Fantasy 11 fans will see Fafnir, Nidhogg, and other H&Ms? No. H&Ms were the single most toxic aspect about Final Fantasy 11. Something that only spawns every 18, 24, whatever the window was. The kings were 21 to 24 on 30-minute windows. Only one group gets to fight it. And if you don't claim it, you could not claim it for, you could be there every day and never fight it for 2 months straight or 3 months. You could never fight it for all you know, especially, and then that promotes people to use third-party software to claim enemies faster. So it is by far the most toxic. I would prefer something along the lines of the Zenny Notorious Monster system. That I'm actually okay with. I don't want anything relating to competing over a monster, because it just causes, like, you've already seen what the hunts do. Imagine if it's too much. The hunt is bad enough. We don't need another thing like that. Alright, there's a few questions here at the bottom of this video. I'm just going to answer these because I took a lot of time with the Final Fantasy 11 questions explaining, so this video is running on pretty long. Let me see. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 questions left that I'm going to be able to answer on this video. So I'm going to get those done, and then we're going to move on. So the first one, do you think Square Enix should add another pillar, something along the lines of a status enhancer debuffer, and in doing this, redo the bard job to be a bard? I'm not even going to read the rest of the question. First, I want to say that if they're going to do a buffer debuffer, it has to be active. It can't be like Final Fantasy 11. Like, most people who ask that question have played Final Fantasy 11 and want jobs to be more like Final Fantasy 11 jobs. No. Bard was the laziest job in Final Fantasy 11, outside of maybe a Summoner. Summoner might be the only job that was lazier than a Bard. Here's some songs, good luck. That was basically all they did. The most annoying thing about them was having to constantly accept party invites and leave parties. That was the toughest thing about Bard in Endgame for Final Fantasy 11. So if they're going to be a buffer debuffer, first of all, they need to make it so that they're worth bringing, and, you know, then they have to design every fight to have one enhancer or debuffer. And it needs to be just one. We can't have one enhancer and one debuffer. It's going to get too out of hand if we got too many of these different kinds of supports and whatnot. So, and it needs to be active. Like, buffs can't last more than, like, 6, 7, 8 seconds like that. You need to constantly be rolling through them and buffing individual people. It can't literally just be, here's a song for the melee, here's a song for the mages, here's a song for the tanks. Have fun, guys. Like, you need to be doing something while the buffs are up, or the buffs need to be such a short duration that you're constantly ensuring that they're available to everybody. The only other thing I can think of, 30-second buffs and then do some damage in between. That's why the hybrid job, in the hybrid class, is such a better idea than just a pure support, in my opinion. Next questions are, I think, a little bit simpler. Are you planning on playing the remastered Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix? Yes, and I will be live streaming it. I actually beat Final Mix many, many years ago, back when it first came out in Japan. I got my hands on it, and I had some sort of thing that let me play games like that on my PlayStation 2, whatever. But yes, I will be playing it. I actually want to play Birth by Sleep Final Mix more because I never really was big in handheld consoles, so I didn't get to play it. I'm more excited for that than I am playing Final Mix, the original one, again. Alright, here's another one. Dear Mr. Happy, what is the difference, in your honest opinion, between a good white mage and a great white mage? A good white mage can do something along, like they can preemptively stone skin a tank before a big hit. They don't overuse their MP. They use Shroud of Saints on cooldown. They know when they can use it for NP and when they need it for enmity. On things like turn 9 is a good example. They aren't nervous when it comes to healing. They're very calm and collected. They just do their job and that's it. A great white mage is someone who can balance damaging and doing all those things that a good white mage just did. And I'm not just talking about like speed runs spamming holy. I mean, like in a raid instance, being able to start the fight in cleric stance, put some dots on, switch out of cleric stance, do some healing, know you're not going to need to do much healing for the next 10 seconds, so you switch back into cleric stance, you do some damage. That's what makes a great white mage to me. Someone who doesn't just settle for being a healer and tries to go that extra mile. And the very last question is, Mr. Happy, how do you feel about the changes to the hunt? Do you feel like B ranks are far more balanced this time, or do you think that all hunts should have the same restrictions? Personally, I think the hunt should just have a cap on seals that prevents people from just getting that many sands and oils of time, whatever. It's too much. Like, sure, great. Ramu rings are going to be 110, and that's something that people with the hunt, they can have one 110 ring and one 100 ring. They cannot get two 110 rings. So there's one way of sort of bringing Ramu back in to, you know, relevancy, which is going to be happening tonight and tomorrow. Basically, we're going to be turning into 110 rings. But personally, I'm glad what they did to the B ranks, but the A ranks and the A ranks and the S ranks are so much more hostile now. So I would have just preferred there had been a cap on seals, people finish it for the week, and then they have no reason to hunt anymore. Can't get any more blood spattered logs, can't get any more of that. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the hunt. I feel like it's a very poorly implemented just feature. Not good. But anyway, guys, that's going to be my last question that I'm going to be answering for the week. Sorry, this video is going to run on a little bit longer than usual. Like I said, had those really long Final Fantasy 11 questions. I am going to get to rendering this and putting it on YouTube so that way I can do the rest of my work on some other things that I have coming today, tomorrow, and the rest of the week. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share if this is, for some reason, the first time you're watching a Mr. Happy video. And I will talk to you guys next week. Be sure to answer your questions, or ask your questions for next week, by the way, in the comments below. There were actually a lot here that I missed. I still have a lot of questions that I didn't answer from previous videos. If you really feel like you need to re-ask them, get it to my attention again, ask them in the comments below. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.